Thank you so much for that terrific talk. It's so important to be learning about girls. We have so little information compared to boys with autism. Is Mark Kretzmann ready? There. Okay, so there we are. Okay, and so our next talk in this topic will be by Mark Kretzmann, who is postdoctoral fellow at the Center for Autism Research and Treatment here at UCLA, and he'll be speaking on social engagement in schools. So thank you so much for coming.
Thanks. Good afternoon, everybody. Just a quick show of hands. How many people here work in schools? Oh, good, good. Very good. Okay, so you might find this useful, and hopefully the rest of you will find this interesting. So this is along the same lines of what Jilly talked about. I'm going to tell you about 3 different interventions that we did in schools to help kids engage more with their peers. But these studies were done with elementary school students, so I think the average age was 8 years old, so keep that in mind. Okay, and this is also funded by HRSA through the AIR-B network, and later I'll put up the website address if you want more information on any of this. It's easy to find. So first I want to just briefly cover why are we intervening at school, and then I'm going to tell you about 2 studies. One is a social skills instruction group versus what we call a peer engagement group, and the other one is a study of a novel intervention called Remaking recess. So here we go. Well, school is just a great opportunity for social development, and I think most everyone would agree on that. And that we know that good quality, regular engagement with peers produces good cognitive and behavioral outcomes. And of course, you know, the average school year, kids are in school for about 180 days a year. And if you think over elementary school, that's 6 years. So that's a lot of days, a lot of chances for intervention. And also when you're thinking about, you know, especially in urban areas like LA, I know when I was a kid in the Midwest, I'd get a lot of time with my peers, excuse me, walking home from school or walking to school or just goofing around in somebody's yard on the way home from school or playing with the neighbors. But these days, especially in LA, kids don't get that luxury. So school, recess and social time at school is really important. And we also know that peers can rival parents, you know, for most influential players in a child's social development. And if you think back to your own elementary school days, I'm sure your fondest memories involve your friends, not your teachers. Sorry, teachers, but I stand by that statement. So we have this sort of opportunity here at school, particularly during lunch and recess. So for every student, the playground, you know, it's a salient place for them to practice their peer engagement and to develop socially. Okay, and we know that kids with ASD are often less engaged with their peers during lunch and recess. And those are good times to intervene because they don't interfere with academic instruction, right? It makes sense. So the first study we did, we wanted to compare 2 sort of your classic lunch bunch groups. And those of you who work with kids in schools with social difficulties have probably been involved in a lunch bunch group. So we wanted to see, you know, did the approach of the group and did the composition of the kids in the group make a difference? So this is what we did. We designed a group we called the skills group, and that was designed to represent your typical sort of clinic-based social skills group where you know, kids were given didactic instruction on sort of discrete social skills like how to say hello, how to hold a conversation, how to tell if somebody's teasing you, how to join into a game. And each week, a specific skill was taught on 2 separate days. And the kids in that, the kids in that group were kids with ASD and then children from other classrooms who also had some sort of social challenge as indicated by the teacher. But they weren't from the same classroom. The second condition we developed, we called the engage groups. And so in the engage groups, we had kids with, oh, thank you so much. We had kids with autism mixed with typically developing kids from their classroom that the teacher recommended. We said, you know, who are some great peers in your class who would be good to put in a fun group with these kids? So, and then we wanted to see if we went out and sent blinded observers out to the playground, if we could see one group engaging more with peers than the other. So here's a sample of the skills group in action. Okay, so there you go. Really working on, today we're gonna learn how to have a conversation. Everybody's gonna practice, and they usually practice with the instructor, and then maybe with the peers too. Now the engage groups had a different feel. The idea behind the engage groups was, what if we get kids together, because we know that even though kids with autism are less engaged on the playground, sometimes they can report higher loneliness. So we know that they want to play with friends, and we figured, well, let's get some kids who are really good at playing, put them together, and let them just have a great time with the emphasis on engaging with each other, not with the adult, and see how that works. So you can see there's definitely a different feel to this. Okay, so every session we let the kids pick activities as long as they sort of targeted that peer engagement, and then we supported them as they played them. And if there was a problem with a social skill, we just hit it right there. We just do it in vivo, give them real quick instruction and say, okay, you need to do it this way so you can keep having fun with your friends. So, and then we sent our observers out. Oh, well, first, so this study took place in LA, Baltimore, Seattle, and Ann Arbor. There are 150 kids, and they were randomized to from 99 classrooms. This is a big study for a school-based intervention study anyway. And they were randomized to either group. And then we watched them twice a week before, during, and after the intervention. And this is what we found. Both groups, the kids significantly improved their engagement on the playground. So that was really encouraging. You don't often end up like that. So it's nice that you can take different approaches and get similar results. What we did find, though, is that the skills groups, the kids improved in their peer engagement a little more than the kids in the engaged group. Yeah, so I heard somebody say, huh. And that was a little surprising to us, which is good, which is why we do these things, right? So we want to know. But what was difficult for us to, let's see, oh yeah, so, and here you can see, there's the difference. What was difficult for us to tease out is, was it the intervention approach, or was it the composition of the groups? Because in the skills groups, kids were being put into groups with other kids who were having trouble making friends, and then they would maybe find each other out on the playground, and they would all have opportunities to play together. In the engaged groups, you had kids who had a lot of friends already trying to help kids who maybe didn't have as many. And the problem is when they got out on the playground, they had things to do. They had other friends waiting for them. So, for example, one group, the engaged group, I said, well, guys, this is the last day today. And they're, oh, we love this group. And I said, well, don't worry. You just can do these same things on the playground every day. That's the idea. And they said, we love this group and it's so fun for us, but when we get on the playground, that's just it. We all have other things to do. We like to do different things, so something to think about. But the good news is either approach works, and it might be about finding, it's always about finding that right combo and the right fit for the right kid, but both those ways are a good way to go. But they're not the most efficient way to improve peer engagement on the playground. And since we're funded by your tax dollars, we want to make sure that schools can meet this need, and if there's a simpler, more straightforward way to do it, then that's what we want to do. So I want to tell you about this study called Remaking Recess. So we knew that these lunch bunch approaches were successful, but we wondered if we could do it just out on the playground. So sort of overcoming that idea of we're trying to predict who might play together out on the playground, and instead go out there and look for the opportunities. And then we also wanted to train school staff who are already out there on the playground how to do the things that we know work, because a lot of them are very simple and just take common sense. So we found a lot of the reason why some of these things aren't being done out there is because no one's encouraging the people who are out there trying them. You might have a great playground assistant who does something great a couple days in a row, and then no one comes out to say, hey, we really noticed. It's just like, nope, next day they're out there by themselves again. So here's a sample of Remaking Recess intervention in action here. So Katie's walking around the playground. This is one of our researchers here. She sees this kid kind of stimming on a tree there. Those of you who worked in schools, you might have seen something like this before. So she's going to get this kid engaged with his peers. He looks ready to go. Really ready. Yep, he wants to play with his peers, but not maybe right now. Okay, and so that's one of the things we try and teach people is you got to try again. You got to keep trying, even if it's the next day. So she gave him a ball, which is a more appropriate activity. So he's kind of stimming on the ball, playing with, maybe not even stimming, just playing with the ball. And you start to generate interest from these other peers who are also looking for something to do. So she's just going to kind of facilitate turn taking here. She's not going to get in the middle. She's just going to be the facilitator. It's not about playing with the kids. It's about working so they can play together. Oh, here comes another one. Sure, of course, everybody can play. Join in. Oh, and another kid. Oh, he wants to play. Yep, go ahead. So then she just lets them know, this is what you're doing the right thing. You're out there playing with your friends. So that's a big change for that kid who, if left alone, might have been still on that tree. And then the important part is Katie's going to fade out, so she doesn't it's not about her. So the kids remember we're playing with each other, and then she'll notice way in the back there's another kid who's all alone, and so she'll cycle around and do that again. So we tested this using a treatment waitlist design. Also using the Pope to watch kids on the playground, blinded observers, seeing the kids who weren't getting the treatment, who eventually got it later, if they were engaged more than the kids who were. We also work with 35 school staff members to see if we could teach them strategies, both responsive strategies, which would be like, hey, if you notice the kid's crying, you'll go over there and help them, which doesn't always happen. or more strategic behaviors, which are like, I know there's got to be some opportunity out here for me. I'm out of time, huh? Little time. Okay, that's good. So we taught them those sets of behaviors. The good news is, look at compared to the wait list, the engagement for peers went up, and they were being observed when we weren't doing the intervention, right? We weren't, the facilitators weren't out there. So we got a big jump in peer engagement, and it maintained a follow-up. The responsive behaviors of the staff, we did get a significant difference, but then after we faded out, their behaviors kind of went back to what they were doing before. And the same with strategic behaviors. We got good response when they were in the treatment, but then it faded out. So anyway, I think that's a lot of good stuff to think about. We know that all three of those approaches can improve peer engagement. And it might be just finding the developmental readiness of the kid and improving that intervention fit. Thank you to those people. And if you're interested in more, check out these websites or shoot me an email. Thanks.